Alright, so today I was going through my female ball pythons that I'm breeding this year, and believe it or not, I actually found my third clutch of ball python eggs for 2021, which is pretty amazing. And this is a pretty awesome cross. I actually crossed my Banana Enchi Clown male to a Lemon Blast female with the pastel and the pinstripe. So all the offspring, if I can actually hit like the crown jewel of this combination, it would actually be a Banana Enchi pastel pinstripe, and then everything will be 100% het clown because clown is a recessive, and that Banana Enchi Clown is actually a visual with 2 copies of the clown gene. And it's kind of the interesting thing about this is this will be the very first eggs that I got from my banana. I actually have bananas and coral glows here in my collection, and a lot of people think that the bananas and the coral glows are pretty much the same gene, although if you actually line the bananas and the coral glows up side by side, I'd say in most cases there are significant differences between most bananas and most coral glows, although you know the bananas and the coral glows can really vary from one example of the gene to the other. So it'd be kind of interesting to see what the bananas look like by themselves. And keep in mind the bananas and the coral glows are actually male makers and female makers. It's actually a sex-linked genes. And both my coral glow and my banana are actually both male makers. So all the offspring that contain the banana gene will all be males, which is kind of the frustrating part of this project. You know, I was actually thinking about holding back a couple females this year as far as the couple holdbacks that I normally hold back every single year. And of course, I'm looking for more females because I held back 2 males from last year. So I may not be actually holding back any of these offspring, which is kind of a bummer. It's kind of one of the more challenging parts of the project. As a matter of fact, some people say that you actually do have a chance of producing a female from a male maker, but the odds are like 1 in 100 or something like that. And let me tell you, I've been producing coral glows for years and years, dozens and dozens of coral glows, and every single one has always been a male. I have yet to produce a female. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over, and first I want to show you this male Banana Enchi Clown. He's looking really good. He's finally bred this year. As a matter of fact, I tried to breed him last year at 1 year old, and none of the snakes that I actually bred him to laid eggs, which was a real bummer. Let me tell you, after last year, which was kind of a bust from breeding snakes that are a little bit too young, let me tell you, I'm always going to wait for my males to be at least 2 years old before I pair them up with my females, because I don't want to risk the females not laying any eggs that year. So let's jump over and check out this Banana Enchi Clown. It's grown quite a bit and it's looking really good. Alright, so I actually keep my Banana Enchi Clown over here in my ARS 5040 rack. He's from 2018. And take a look at that beauty. That is, as a matter of fact, this is one of the most expensive snakes that I ever bought. I paid $1,500 for this snake, which is kind of wild. I definitely wanted to get more into the clown projects, and this is definitely one of the most expensive snakes that I bought here in my collection. And it's kind of interesting, when he was a younger snake, he had a lot more contrast and high definition, and as he aged and matured, it faded out a little bit. And you can definitely tell with the combination of the banana in with the Enchi and the clown that it really subdued the banana from getting a lot of spots. A lot of times as a snake will age and mature, it'll get a lot of little black freckles all over the snake. As a matter of fact, you can see just a few little black freckles here and there in the snake. And when I first got the snake, I thought for sure it had mites. That's the thing with these bananas, is as they age a little bit, they get little tiny black spots, and you're like, oh no, my banana has these little blood-sucking mites. And that is just part of the banana gene, which can kind of trick you as far as the health of the snake. But look at the crazy head stamp on the top of that snake. That is pretty awesome. I love the head pattern on these snakes. So let's jump over and check out this female, and we'll pull her off those eggs and see how many eggs she has. Alright, so this female's name is Ozzy, and Ozzy lives way down here in this ARS 8018 tub, way down here at the bottom of the rack. She's a pretty big snake, so she should have quite a few eggs into there, and it looks like I'm disturbing her a little bit. It's kind of interesting. It looks like she kind of has a loose coil around those eggs, which is, it's kind of unusual. Usually they lay them in kind of a tighter clump, and they have a tighter grip on those eggs. Look at all those eggs. That is a really big clutch of eggs, which is pretty wild. I see maybe at least 8 or 10 eggs under there, which is pretty wild. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this girl out and I'm gonna put this tub up on the table, and then we can remove this snake from these eggs and get a little bit better look at these ball python eggs. All right, well, I have to say this is one of the weirdest clutches of eggs that I've ever seen. I've never seen a ball python really stretch out the eggs quite like that. It almost looks like she can crawl away from those eggs, which I've never seen before. Usually they have a really tight clump and they're really constricted around them to where you almost can't even see the eggs. I've never really seen them lay them really flat and spread out like that, which is pretty wild. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna jump right in here and take this girl right off the eggs. She is super skinny. Look at how skinny this girl is. And you know, ball pythons, they don't eat for a really long time while they're carrying those eggs. And now the trick is to get her back on eggs, or back on food. And one of the things you wanna look at as far as ball pythons, when you first pull them off the eggs, is you wanna look at the belly to make sure there's no eggs still stuck in the belly. You definitely don't want any retained eggs in there. It looks like she completely, look at all the skin on this poor ball python. I've never seen one so skinny like this, where the skin's just folding up. That is so incredible. She is so super skinny. You definitely have to get this girl back on food really quick. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move this girl over to this boa tub over here. She did her job, laid a whole bunch of eggs. And let's see how many eggs we have. Wow, take a look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 eggs. That is crazy. That is amazing. So what I'm gonna do is, I actually did this on my last video. I marked the eggs as far as the orientation of the female, and then looked at the orientation of the embryo compared to the orientation that they were laid, and looked at the difference between the two. So what I'm gonna do is just put one little spot right on the top of the eggs to indicate that this is the orientation that the eggs were laid. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna separate all the eggs, and then I wanna candle them and take a look at where the embryo is. I normally put the embryo facing up in the incubation box, versus, you know, a lot of people will say, you know, some people will actually just incubate the eggs just as they're laid, just like this, which is kind of wild. And these, you can definitely tell they've been laid quite a long time ago. They're really stuck to the bottom of the tub, which is pretty wild. I've never seen them really stuck like this to the tub. Oh my. I think I might have waited too long on these. That is crazy. I've never had eggs stuck to the tub like this. Oh, that's pretty wild. I'm gonna have to actually try to separate them one at a time on the bottom of the tub. Take a look at that. I've never seen that before, where they're like really stuck to the bottom of the tub. And I definitely like to separate them. I don't like to keep them together. And wow, I've never seen them. They're almost stuck to the tub more than they're stuck to the other eggs. That is wild. It seems like every time I do this with these ball pythons, there's always something weird that comes up. It's like this one, I can't even get it off the tub, off the bottom of the tub. There we go. That is just really wild. I've never seen that. You know, usually it sticks to the tub a little bit, but usually it's not like a death grip on the tub as far as the eggs. So let's take a look here, see if I can get some of these off the bottom of the tub here. Wow. And you definitely, yeah, it's almost like a dilemma. There's nothing you can really do because you really can't incubate the whole tub. And, you know, a lot of people, you know, some people have tried to leave the female on the eggs to do maternal incubation. That's another possibility if you get them really stuck to the bottom. But I've seen a lot of people where they really don't have good success as far as doing something like that. Man, these are really super stuck to the bottom of the tub. I can't even believe it. I've never seen ball python eggs with a death grip on the tub like this before, which is pretty wild. It might take me a while to get all these eggs off, which is pretty crazy. It's unbelievable. It's almost like they're stuck to the tub more than they're stuck to the other eggs. It seems like they're coming away from the other eggs easier than from the bottom of the tub. You definitely don't want to rip them. Take a look at the bottom of that. That is really wild how it really stuck to the tub on some of these. It's kind of crazy. Oh, this one's coming right off. Take a look at that. And then these, I can't even believe it. I've never seen anything like this. Wow. All right, I'm gonna grab a chair. Pull up a chair because it's gonna take me a little bit to actually work on these eggs. I'm kind of leaned over a little bit. This is kind of the craziest thing that I've ever seen. Wow. I've never seen this before. It almost looks like there's a little bit of moisture underneath here. Like maybe she laid eggs and then peed on them or something, to where the pee like made them stick to the tub, which I've never seen before. This one looks like it'll come off here. All right, we got that one. Crazy. What do you know? I've never seen that. I don't know if I've ever seen anyone in a egg video have this problem before, where they're actually stuck to the bottom of the tub like this. This is just really crazy. It's like I can't even get them off the bottom of the tub. Oh, that is unbelievable. All right. Wow, we definitely worked hard to get those off the tub. That's crazy. I'd never seen that. All right, so I'm going to slowly pull these apart. And I usually rock them back and forth a little bit to make sure that I don't tear them. I think if you just keep pulling one direction, you have a higher probability of tearing them. And that's kind of why I go kind of back and forth on a lot of these, kind of rock them back and forth so you're not always pulling on one direction. And you can definitely tell these are a lot more leathery because they've been sitting around for a while. I actually noticed these this morning and I thought, you know, I'm just gonna let her sit on those eggs for a little bit because I want to make sure that she lays them all and there's no egg-bound eggs inside of the female. And sometimes if I go in too early, like last year, you know, I'd notice some eggs and I was like, all right, I want to do a video, and I get set up for the video. And then the problem is I actually start pulling the eggs from the female while she was still laying the eggs. So this year, I've been giving her a little bit of extra time so she can completely lay all those eggs so there's no problems at all. But it looks like these are going to come apart pretty good. It's just going to take a little bit more work because they've been sitting around for quite a while. And they're a little bit harder to candle too once you get them kind of set up to this kind of a leathery appearance like this. But boy, those are really stuck to the bottom of the tub. I could not believe it. That is crazy. And look at almost like the damage from the bottom. That is pretty wild how it kind of just ripped away from the tub on the bottom of the egg, which is crazy. All right, so we should definitely have some bananas and some banana enchis. One of my favorite combinations is a combination of the banana and the enchi. For some reason, when you get those together, even if you work other genes into it, it seems like you have some really amazing combinations. As a matter of fact, I actually did a video on the banana enchi combination and showed all the other genes that you can mix in with the banana enchi. And let me tell you, you can make some really outstanding combinations with the banana and the enchi. So what I want to do is I want to get my pen light out here and we'll candle some eggs. Take a look at where the embryos are. And I'll get my Sharpie and then we'll mark the embryo. Oh, look at that one. That's pretty wild. Right off the bat, you have the embryo almost exactly on the spot where the female laid it. So the embryo is actually this round little circle, and it kind of jiggles as you move the egg. You can see the embryo kind of jiggling a little bit. So that is pretty much exactly right on top of where the egg was laid. This one's pretty close too. The embryo's right here, pretty close to the orientation at which it was laid. And it was interesting, in the last video that I did, I was actually doing this, and one of them was actually 180 degrees all the way on the bottom compared to where the female laid it. So the female laid the egg pretty much upside down with the embryo on the bottom of the egg. And I've actually seen some scientific articles where they show that if you have the embryo facing up, you actually have a better hatch rate with your ball python eggs. Of course, it's not really like chicken eggs, because if you look at chicken eggs, a lot of times they'll be, you know, like a lower hatch rate compared to ball python eggs. I mean, most of the ball python eggs have a really high hatch rate in the first place. So these are all really close to the orientation of where the female laid the eggs, which is pretty awesome, pretty different from the last batch, where they seemed like they were anywhere from 90 degrees to 180 degrees. All these look almost exactly perfect as far as all these. And look at that, how close it is. That's pretty amazing. So sometimes it looks like in some clutches it's really close, and some clutches it is really off. This one is over here, pretty close. All these are within like 90 degrees. And the other ones that I actually looked at, most of them were 90 degrees. Some of them were like more than 90 degrees. And one of them was like complete opposite. So it looked like all those that we candled were really close to the orientation at which they were laid, which is pretty awesome. All right, so I'm gonna set up my incubation box real quick. I actually use these 6-quart plastic containers, and I use 50-50 vermiculite water by weight. I use 150 grams of each. So what I'll do is I'll just put it on there and I'll zero it out. And I prefer to use this fine vermiculite. It seems like it holds the humidity in there really good. You can use pretty much anything. As a matter of fact, I've actually seen people use even just water, and they'll have some kind of like a grating suspended over the water. Hey, I found my old syringe. Take a look at that. I was wondering where my big syringe was when I add the water. I'll definitely use that syringe, which is pretty awesome. So this actually takes just about 2 scoops of this vermiculite, almost exactly 2 scoops, 150 grams. So we're at like 148, 149, 150.1. Pretty good. All right. That is pretty easy. And I don't know if we need the big one, the big syringe actually, because so I'm going to zero that out. And last time what I did is I actually just poured it in here until I hit 150 grams. So we're like at 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 20, 30, 40, ooh, 159. So that's the problem, is I overshot that one. I get an extra 9 grams. So what I'm going to do, I don't know if it's really going to make that much of a difference, 9 grams, but I'm going to put another 9 grams of vermiculite just so I can kind of get the 50-50 mixture in there. So we're at 5, 6, as long as I don't overshoot this, then I'll have the whole box full of vermiculite and water. I'm at 8, 8.5, 8.6, that's close enough. That is 9.0 grams. All right, so it's a little bit extra. As a matter of fact, I used to do 200 grams when I first started out, and it's a little bit too much for some of the really big eggs. They get really close to the top of the box. So anything between, I'd say 150, 160 grams, you know, you could probably even go up to like 180, 190 grams. Once you get 200 grams in one of these boxes, it gets pretty tight in there, especially if you're using like a plastic grate like that. I've actually seen some people put the eggs right in the vermiculite, and in that case you could probably use like even 200 grams of each. Not that it really matters as far as that's concerned. So what I want to actually do from here, I want to put the eggs in this egg box. All right, so take a look at this. This is actually more eggs than I normally put in an egg box because they're getting pretty close to the sides of the egg box. And you definitely don't want them touching the sides. So as long as I can get them in here to where none of the eggs are touching the sides, I may actually be okay. I usually go with 2 boxes. But you could potentially kind of squeeze them together just a little bit, I guess. And then, of course, you want all the X's. I prefer to have the X's straight up and down as far as having the embryos right on top of the egg versus the orientation that they're related. But in this case, it's almost exactly the same. So these over here, this is really super close. And you can have the eggs touching. I just like to separate them first. So if you have any that are bad, you can remove them from the egg box and move them to a separate box. So if any of them start getting like really moldy or really stinky, what I'll actually do is like halfway through the incubation, I'll take that egg out and I'll put it in a separate egg box. Keep it away from all the other ones. As far as that's concerned, but looks like we can actually do. This is the most I've ever had in one box, but it looks like 11 is definitely the limit for ball python eggs in one of these boxes. So what I'm gonna do from here is I'm gonna use some press and seal. I just use Glad press and seal, and to seal the top. And this stuff just kind of sticks right on, just like this. Forms a really tight seal. I don't put any ventilation holes in there. And then I go in like every week or so and I kind of vent it and then wipe down all the condensation from the top. And then I go through and make sure if I have any bad eggs, I'll move them to a separate box. And then I'll make sure that none of the eggs have kind of rolled towards the sides to where the water's directly dripping on the eggs. Because let me tell you, if you start having rain down in the eggs, I can almost guarantee you'll start having mold problems with a lot of those eggs, which you definitely don't want. They have to stay in the incubator for 2 months, for 60 days, which is kind of crazy. So what I'm gonna do from here, I'm gonna grab my label maker and I'll show you the labels that I make with my label maker. All right, so here are the 2 labels that I make for this clutch. I actually label the pairing. So this is actually a Banana Enchi Clown crossed with my Lemon Blast female number 4. I actually have 4 female Lemon Blasts, which is kind of crazy. And then I actually put the laid date and the hatch date. So these will hatch July 10th. If you're interested in some of these hatchlings, as a matter of fact, you could probably come, usually a couple days before July 10th, I'll actually go in and cut the eggs open and we can actually check them out. So right around the 4th of July, we can kind of, a little bit after the 4th of July probably, we'll actually go in and cut these eggs and kind of peek in, see what the results are. And then probably about 2 or 3 weeks after that, they generally have had enough meals for me to actually post them over on Morph Market for sale. So right now I don't have any snakes for sale. I have a whole bunch of eggs in the incubator starting to build up. This is my 3rd clutch in the incubator, which is pretty awesome. All right, so here is my 6-foot-tall ball python egg incubator that I actually built out of a beverage cooler. It's been working fantastic. I've been hatching probably hundreds of snakes out of this thing for the last few years, which is kind of crazy. 3 clutches in here. So right now, I actually have this one that's gonna hatch first on the 22nd of June. So actually before the 4th of July, I'll actually have some snakes here. This is my bamboo calico crossed with the lesser. And then I have these over here. This is actually a pastel Enchi desert ghost crossed with a pastel calico het desert ghost. And then I have the ones that I just put in here, the Banana Enchi Clown crossed with the Lemon Blast, which is pretty awesome. So I actually have, so these 2 are actually 8 egg clutches. So this is 16 eggs up on the top. And then I have 11, so that's 27 eggs that I produced so far this year with no slugs, not a single infertile egg, which is pretty amazing. And I think it really comes down to consistently moving your males through all your females at least once a month through like a 5-month period. And if you actually keep on top of your males and keep rotating them through your females, I'm convinced that's the trick to eliminating or reducing the amount of slugs that you have. So usually with like, I'd say with about 100 eggs, I get maybe 3, maybe 4 infertile slugs from my ball pythons. I've actually seen people where they'll have like a slug every single clutch of eggs, and I'm convinced that they're not moving their males through their females enough time to keep all those eggs fertile in the female. But that's just my opinion. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's just my experience from what I've actually seen here in my collection. So that's pretty much it. Things are getting really exciting. You should have some hatchlings here around the 4th of July, which is pretty awesome. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.